All right, what's going on, guys? So I woke up today and I saw that the gaming community was in a bit of an uproar over some comments that Joe Rogan made on his podcast. Now, this isn't like some crazy occurrence. I feel like they try to cancel Joe Rogan like every other week or so. It happens all the time. Not the gaming community, but just like people in general seem to always have a problem with him, right? And I get it. That's kind of what happens when you put hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of hours of yourself talking on the internet in front of millions of people. It's pretty much a guarantee that somebody somewhere is going to have a problem with what you say. And I actually listen to his podcast quite a bit. I pretty much only listen to the episodes where he has a fighter on, whether it's MMA or boxing or kickboxing or whatever, right? I listen to all those just because I'm a fan of, combat sports. But, from time to time, whenever he has like a really, really famous person on, I'll listen to those as well. When he had like Elon Musk or Robert Downey Jr., people like that, I always tune in because I just find it interesting to, see what happens in their day-to-day life, because most of us will probably never experience anything like that, right? So anyways, today he decided to speak on gaming a little bit, and this kind of happens to be my area of expertise. I happen to know a little bit about gaming, I would say. So I just wanted to put my thoughts out there because this clip right here seems to have everyone very upset. So I would just like to give my opinion as well. So let me go ahead and play the clip for you.
And video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're fucking fun.
Addictive.
And I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like you could do like martial arts, right? You could learn jiu-jitsu. You get obsessed by jiu-jitsu, and then 3 years later, you're like an elite jiu-jitsu athlete. You're entering in competitions. You're a purple belt.
You're moving up.
Yeah, you're doing well. Right. You're thinking like, I might be able to open my own school one day.
You got confidence.
Yeah, if I have 100 students and those 100 students are paying me X amount of dollars per month, I can make a living. Holy shit, I can have this would be amazing. And then you see your jiu-jitsu school, and your jiu-jitsu instructor has all these students and drives a Mercedes, and he's got a nice family, and like, that's the future. This way, you're doing something exciting and fun, and you don't. Or you could just be playing fucking video games. 3 years later, you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the fuck game is, next Xbox game to come out, and you're gonna waste your time.
Okay, so there's two aspects here that we need to discuss. Number one, horrible example, right? So basically, his point is that video games are most likely a huge waste of time for the majority of people because, most people will not be able to turn that into anything productive or into a career, anything like that, right? Which is fair, but then he gives the example of opening a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school, which, in my opinion, is even more unlikely than making a living off video games. First of all, you have to think about the physical requirements, which with video games, anyone can play them pretty much. But for BJJ, like a certain level of physical fitness is required that some people may not ever be able to get to, especially to be good enough to open up your own school. Like, there are certain physical requirements that some people just won't have. So that already eliminates a lot of people from doing that, right? Second of all, I would say age and also gender. You're not going to see too many young people opening up a jiu-jitsu school. I mean teenagers, people in that age range, maybe even going all the way up to 25, right? I would say most owners of a school would probably be older because they have the most experience and they're better and they're probably more capable of teaching others, right? And also gender, because I feel like there's not too many female-owned Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools. I'm sure there are some, of course, but I would say the majority of them are owned by males. So there's just some barriers to entry on a career like that aren't really there in gaming because, have you ever looked at Twitch? There is plenty of female streamers and there's plenty of female YouTubers, and obviously there's not as many professional girl players, but there are some in that aspect as well, right? Obviously it's really more focused on the entertainment aspect. So I just think he picked a pretty poor example to back up his point because statistically, I would say that you actually have a better chance of making money off video games than you do off opening a BJJ school. that's pretty difficult, right? So if he had said something else like, I don't know, computer programming, like coding, like, yeah, learning how to code would be a much better use of your time than playing video games. You most likely would be able to make a career out of that. Like you're very likely to make that happen. Whereas, with video games, it's pretty difficult, right? Not everyone gets to do that. So I think he just picked a bad example, and it just made his overall point really look bad when he did that. Whereas, he could have just picked something more reasonable, and, his point would have made a lot more sense. But number two, right, here's like the bigger picture of it all, right? So what if it doesn't become a career? Like, is it a crime to have a hobby? Like, not everything you do in life has to be like productive and lead to a career. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to enjoy things. Under these guidelines that he's saying, almost anything would be considered a waste of time, right? Like playing video games are a waste of time. Okay, so watching TV, waste of time. Watching a movie, waste of time. Listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, waste of time. Watching UFC events, waste of time, right? If nobody's listening to your podcast and nobody's watching UFC events anymore because it's a waste of time, well, now Joe Rogan doesn't really have a job anymore. I mean, I don't think he would care. He's obviously made enough money already, but it's just the fact that, like, it's okay to quote unquote waste your time with stuff if you're having fun. In fact, I would argue that if you're having fun with something, then it's not a waste of time, because happiness is important in life. Whatever it is that brings you happiness, as long as it's not, messing with anybody else's life, I think you should pursue that, and you should do it as much as possible. Now, obviously, just a disclaimer, like, you can't let it ruin your life. It can't just be the only thing you do. You don't want to turn into Cartman from that episode of South Park where, they were all just playing WoW all day and they all got like 300 pounds and disgusting or whatever, right? You don't want to get to that point, but that's a pretty severe extreme, and most people will never get anywhere close to that bad, right? So I think everyone hopefully gets the point that he was trying to make here. I don't think it was a crazy take. I just think he just didn't make his point well. He just used a bad example, and it's kind of a ridiculous standard that he set. But anyways, y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. That's pretty much it for the video. I just wanted to, share my thoughts because I have a lot of experience on this topic. You know what I mean? I am the guy that he's talking about, right? I used to play video games nonstop, 8 hours a day. I still do sometimes. Whenever there's like a game I'm really into, which is kind of rare these days, unfortunately. But I went from doing that into, making videos and turning it into an actual career, right? And it worked out, right? And that's where we are today. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like rating if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are not already. Follow me on Twitter. Links in the description down below. Other than that, have a good day and peace out.